Hello there my fellow holotable heroes, and welcome to another fleet counter video guide. So you've probably seen it, Punishing One has hit our holotables and definitely shaken up a little bit the fleet meta of what counters work, what don't, and things like that. So what I'll be doing over the next few weeks, I'll just be testing out different counters and then releasing videos as I go along. So in this one, we will start off by Tarkin's ship Executrix. So normally we use Chimera in the past to counter Executor. However, with Punishing One, at least from my testing, it seems like Tarkin is a little bit of a better option because obviously that synergy has with Scythe by adding additional Imperial TIE fighters, which obviously help us out a lot. Anyway, more about it later. As always, I'll cover first some of the key mechanics of the fleets that we need to pay attention in these battles, then talk about RNG factors. Now there isn't a ton of RNG in this one, but we don't have control over it, so it definitely can negatively impact the battle a lot if everything goes wrong. And finally, I'll do I think five different battles, so it might be a bit longer video. I just wanted to cover different scenarios to help you out to understand what's going on. If you want to skip through straight to the battles, as always, YouTube chapters will be below. Otherwise, let's first look at Tarkin's ship, what it will bring for this counter that it can work really well. Let's first look at this ability right here, Victory at all costs. Allies gain 20% offense for each debuffed enemy, doubled for Empire allies. So we will be getting essentially 40% offense for each debuffed enemy. So this is the advantage over Chimera, because Chimera I think gives us extra critical chance and extra critical damage, not offense. And as we will see in the Punishing One, we get lots of negative critical chance, so TIE fighters won't be able to crit. So actually having offense instead of critical damage will help a little bit with the damage output. Most importantly, allies also gain 20% turn meter whenever any ship is destroyed. So this will be important. That's why we need Scythe in there. With Executrix we get 2 extra TIE fighters summoned to the field, which means 2 extra ships that can die for us. They're squishier than the rest of the ships, so they will die very quickly, giving lots of turn meter to our ships. That's why I think from my testing that actually Executrix is a little bit better than Chimera versus Punishing One. Now in terms of the other abilities, this one is good, but however it starts on cooldown, so you can't use it straight away. It gives us turn meter and offense up, giving us extra offense. Now in some situation, again I'll talk about it, we will be utilizing the basic from Executrix because it inflicts tenacity down, and applying tenacity down can't be resisted, so it will be important that we can obviously land this so we can then get other bonuses right from the debuffs. So let's move on to the rest of the ship. Like we need TIE Advance obviously in the starting lineup for that synergy with TIE Interceptor. When it's in the reinforcement, that we can reduce the cooldowns of our reinforcement, so we can call our first reinforcement straight away. We obviously need a Scythe in here for the whole synergy obviously it has with Executrix, giving us extra Imperial TIE fighters summoned to the field, and also it gives us extra 10 speed for the Empire, so outrunning, hopefully the Executor won't be too much of a problem. And then another thing to highlight with Scythe is the special ability right here. It does a lot of things, but most importantly this attack has 75% critical chance if the target is debuffed. So remember when I mentioned sometimes with Executrix we use basic because tenacity down can't be resisted. That's a debuff, and then when you target Punishing One with Scythe this special, you will end fear on them. However, this fear can't be copied or dispelled, but it can be evaded or resisted. And as I'll show you in one of the battles, fear did get resisted, and yeah, from there on out things do go downhill quite quickly. The Imperial TIE Fighter can go first, use its special, gain foresight, then it will get marked because of Scythe, and then they will have to do mass assist on Imperial TIE Fighter. While looking at Imperial TIE Fighter, yeah, no joke, mine's Relicate. I did it for the territory battles operations for the guild, so I can put it in the operations. This is actually proving to be slightly detrimental for me to use this as a counter versus Punishing One, because you want Imperial TIE Fighter to die in the opening mass swarm, so you can then immediately obviously come in with a TIE Defender. However, at Relic 8, it's a bit more durable that you're probably most of your Imperial TIE fighters out there. So in most cases, for me, it survives the opening sequence, which makes it tougher to win. So definitely having lower Relic or maybe even Gear 12 Imperial TIE fighter will actually work better. Then obviously we need TIE Defender, we need TIE Interceptor, so 2 key ones, and then the third and fourth reinforcement. In most cases, you never use them. Just make sure they are Empire or Sith. Otherwise, you won't be able to reinforce straight away. And of course, let's quickly touch upon the Punishing One. It does a lot of things. I'm not going to go through the entire kit, but the bit that kind of tries to shut down the Empire is the bit right here. Enemy Imperial TIE fighter ships lose 200% critical chance and evasion for the rest of the encounter. So even once you defeat Punishing One, this kind of negative effect for your TIE fighters will still be active, which means you won't be critting as much, very rarely, with your TIE fighters. That's including TIE Defender, TIE Interceptor, and obviously you won't be able to evade into oblivion like you were before, so you can't completely rely on the whole dodge cheese there with TIE Defender as we normally would. So this really claws, I mean there are other things, but this is the main clause, kind of making it harder for the Empire to win. Alright, so with all that out of the way, it's finally time to talk about the RNG factors. And the first one, big one, is whether your Imperial TIE fighter lives or dies. If it dies, from my testing, 90% win rate in most cases. You did win. I think I just lost once during my testing and I did a lot of battles. If my Imperial TIE fighter survived the opening sequence, it's about like 50% win rate, so not that great. Obviously test it out for yourself and see how it goes for you. So I'll just show you a little bit different sequence based on whether it lives or dies in the opening sequence. So deal scenario, they knock out your Imperial TIE fighter, which means you can straight away reinforce your TIE Defender, get a stun on Punishing One so it can't do its shenanigans, and then in most cases you are good to go. Another scenario, for example, where my Imperial TIE fighter did survive the opening sequence. In this case, you want to start off with a basic on Punishing One, and then yeah, sure, get more force setup. However, because of all this foresight, I was able to dodge enough that Tarkin got a second toler already, which means I was still able to reinforce with TIE Defender, get a stun on Punishing One before the enemy they could do something else. So in some cases, if you get lucky with the foresight and the dodging, this can happen. So another example where Imperial TIE fighter did survive, and then again we land tenacity down on Punishing One. We go get some force setup. However, in this case, we did not get enough dodges. They even knocked down one of our Imperial TIE fighters. And there you go. In this case, you want to land fear on Punishing One so it misses a turn. So that's a little bit different sequence where Scythe gets a turn before your Tarkin gets his second turn, as I did in the previous example. In this case, we will still able to get in, knock out Punishing One before the enemy reinforced. Alright, and let's move on to, I guess, worst case scenario, where they do that. We land the fear. However, in this case, I wasn't able to defeat Punishing One fast enough. So then, they were able to reinforce Houndstooth before I dropped down Punishing One, and then things can go wrong. And mind you, all these gameplays versus 4, 5, 6 stars, I didn't find any 7-star Punishing Ones in my shard. So at 7 stars is going to be even a little bit tankier. So at this point, Punishing One lives, Houndstooth reinforces, and at this point there's nothing you can do. Now this is a very annoying one when fear gets resisted. So yeah, tenacity down, but remember Punishing One does have tenacity up, so it does offset to get a little bit that tenacity down. And if fear gets resisted, this means that Punishing One will not miss a turn, and you're gonna get wrecked at this point. So there is definitely RNG involved in this battle. I'm not gonna lie to you, but at least I explain it to you. You can test it out for yourself. And the next one, of course, is the reinforcements. Like if Slave 1 reinforces first, that's probably more optimal because you can dispel the taunt and then head over to try to finish off the other guys. If they reinforce with Houndstooth, it's very difficult to get around the taunt, and then especially if Punishing One is still alive, yeah, you're gonna have a very rough time trying to win this kind of situation where Punishing One is alive and they reinforce Houndstooth instead of Slave One. Okay, so with all the boring stuff out of the way, let's get to the fun stuff, which is the actual battles. Now, apologies, looks like my shard isn't really all that crazy on wailing on Punishing Ones. The best I could find was a 6-star Punishing One, but most is like 4 or 5 stars. So mostly just really Leviathan, just a couple of guys having Executor, trying Executor out. So apologies for not having in gameplay versus 7 stars, but I don't know, would it make a whole lot of difference like between 6 and 7 stars? I don't know. Let me know, guys, in the comments below the ones that you are able to try this versus 7-star Punishing Ones. So we'll first kind of start off, you know, with kind of best case scenario and slowly then getting to like okay scenario and then worst case scenarios in the end. So this is the one where Imperial TIE Fighter does die at the start of the battle. So that's the preferred scenario. Again, if mine's Relic 8, that's why it probably survives more than it should really. But what you want to start off by getting the Foresight, and then you get ability block over on Razor Crest. Then they do the mass assist, hopefully knock out down your TIE fighter, so you can now reinforce with your TIE defender. Get a stun over on the Punishing One, so it can't do its, you know, buff dispel or whatever. Keep using their specials. Now we can do buff dispel with Scythe, which gives us lots of stack of formation, which means more health and more offense for our guys. In this case, where Xanadu Blood gets countered and gets in the yellow, I would just suggest finishing off their Xanadu Blood and then switch over to Punishing One. If you do that, you have lots of turn meter, and then you'll be able to finish off also Punishing One before the enemy reinforces. But this to me happened rarely. What that counter attack over onto Xanadu Blood did enough damage to get him in the yellow. If still in the green, I would just say focus on Punishing One instead. First try to get him down, but at this point, with obviously both Punishing One and Xanadu Blood down already, we were able to make quick work, you know, with the rest of the ships that they had on the field, at least ultimate, and we won there easily. Okay, so battle number 2, so that's versus 5-star Punishing One. So here Imperial TIE Fighter dies after the start, but still fast enough. We got enough turn meter that we were able to reinforce after our TIE Fighter died before enemy reinforces with their Houndstooth, so we were able to quickly finish off their Punishing One before, you know, battle gets out of hand. So this sequence also is possible. It's a bit rare, but still I wanted to show you that it can happen. So same thing, we get Foresight with TIE Fighter, we get ability block on Razor Crest. There we go, and then we're just gonna, because TIE Fighter is alive in this case, we just put tenacity down over on Punishing One. There we go, we got lots of dodges there, which is nice, which gives us lots of turn meter over back, so Tarkin gets another turn already before enemy reinforces. So we can come in, get a stun on the Punishing One with TIE Defender special attack. There we go, perfect. And now we can go ahead, do buff dispel again, gain lots of stacks of formation. So this should now hopefully give us enough offense to burn through Punishing One before enemy brings in the reinforcement. There we go, we got him down, and at this point, you know, pretty straightforward affair, same like in the first battle. Once we get Punishing down, before, you know, they had to do a lot, you know, they really kind of lose the momentum, I guess. I mean, having Houndstooth in there is a little bit annoying, to be honest, but you know, eventually you do kind of get things under control once we do reinforce with TIE Interceptor and dispel the buffs, land buff immunities and things like that. At this point, just kind of stuck behind Houndstooth. Just keep hitting it, there's nothing else you can do. At this point, there we go, they healed up their Razor Crest back to full health. Yeah, I was going to do basic here. There we go, we can do buff dispel, but because of breach on our TIE Fighter, the taunt there over on the Houndstooth is still sticking. Alright, there we go, we can now go ahead and bring in TIE Interceptor, which will dispel buffs, dispel debuffs on our guys as well. There we go, got buff immunity as well on Houndstooth. We were able to finish off Houndstooth, and with Houndstooth down, we should be able to get things under control. Xanadu Blood down, and you know, at this point things are looking good. They did get here actually their contract, because yeah, their slave one's a little bit annoying with the counterattacks, but we can go ahead, unleash our ultimate, finishing off their slave one, and as well now we can take care of a Razor Crest here quite easily. Oh, all our sheep still have a turn, so we should be able to knock it down. Even, you know, Razor Crest can be durable. Yeah, got him. No sense of using a Dispel. There is no buffs to Dispel, so I'm just going to do basic there. Now in Battle 3, this is versus a 5-star punishing one, and similar starting sequence where Imperial TIE Fighter will survive, but then it won't get taken out in the second kind of wave of attacks as it did in Battle number 2. So it'll play out a little bit differently. But otherwise, we always start off the same, get a force set up, then with TIE Advance we get ability block over on Razor Crest. They do the mass assist. Imperial TIE Fighter in this case survived, was still in green, in good health, for the better or worse. In this case we want to land Tenacity down over on Punishing One, so we can then you know, have pretty much guaranteed critical hit over on Punishing One, which means landing Fear, then Punishing One misses the turn because of Fear, and we can just keep hitting it. And here really it's kind of race against time. We need to take down Punishing One before they get the reinforcement out, because either Slave One or Houndstooth, they will have a taunt up, so you won't be able to get to Punishing One. They will heal it up. So you know, that's really the main thing here. At this point, we can now turn our attention over to Xanadu Blood, see if we can finish it off as well before they reinforce. There we go, we got it done as well. Down, they did reinforce here Houndstooth, but you know, too little, too late. We got their two main troublemakers down, so they really, you know, are totally slowed down in terms of making progress towards a contract. Also, they lost the damage dealers and everything. Let's go ahead, get some turn meter for a team, offense up as well. All right, what they've got for us? Okay, they just cleaned up a little bit of Razor Crest, not a problem. At this point, we're just kind of, you know, waiting until we can take down Houndstooth. We're kind of perpetually stuck. Let's go ahead and do the special, heal up TIE Advanced, use the special, get a Foresight. Sure, let's do an AoE to clear off the Foresight from their Razor Crest. Yeah, alright, what have we got for us? Okay, so they brought in Slave 1. Hopefully it'll knock out one of my TIE Fighters so I can reinforce. No, unfortunately not. No sense, I think, of unleashing the ultimate at this point. Instead, just give me more offense, more turn meter. We can now go ahead, dispel the buffs. Look at the amount of formation we have now. Hopefully we can land a big hit. Come on, somebody, land a big hit. Give me buff immunity. Nope. But I think that should, there we go, finish off Houndstooth. Now we can go after Slave 1 as well. And yeah, this battle is pretty much over at this point, because we took everybody down. Just Razor Crest left, and I think IG probably in the reinforcement. So let's just go ahead, unload the ultimate. Will it be enough? Okay, not quite. At least we went through Razor Crest number 1. There we go, they took down one of our TIE Fighters, so we can now bring in TIE Interceptor. And all we need to do now is finish off Razor Crest, which I don't think should be too difficult. Let's get a stun on it. There we go, so it doesn't even get a turn. Get a hit, bomb, and a basic there from TIE Fighter will finish off a Razor Crest, and this ended up being a win in the end. Let's move on to the battle number 4. So this one is going to be where Imperial TIE Fighter survives again. However, it will end up in a loss because they will take the side TIE Fighters down very quickly as well. So, you know, not great. That's why this is about 50% win rate if Imperial TIE Fighter survives the opening sequence, because if they spread their damage as it did in this battle, you will have obviously issue with dealing enough damage to Punishing One with just a couple of ships left alive. But same thing here, we're going to go ahead, land Tenacity down, so then when Scythe gets a turn, it can get a critical hit over on the Punishing One, landing Fear, then Punishing One because of it misses a turn. But as you can see now, with only 3 ships left, I simply did not have enough firepower to take down a 4-star Punishing One even, let alone, you know, a 7-star one. But I guess with a 7-star one could be actually easier because it'll hit harder, so it's more likely they will finish off, I guess, Imperial TIE Fighter in the opening attacks. I guess. I don't know. It's not something I can test myself because nobody in my shard has 7-star punishing one. Mostly it's all still Leviathan, just, you know, I think three people run it, or Executor, I guess, just to test stuff out. But yeah, at this point, you know, started falling apart. I was doing my best, nearly took down their punishing one for the second time. I was trying to test out maybe bringing in TIE bombers so you can get another buff dispel, but you know, it wasn't really enough to make a difference there. They got a contract going. Nearly took down Boba as well, but yeah, Death Star there blew up my ship, and at this point, yeah, lost cause. And we got battle number 5, so this is probably even worst case scenario. It's gonna be same as the first one, as the previous one, versus 4-star, and here Fear does get resisted. So it happened twice during my testing that Fear got resisted, so it can happen. It's rare, but I just wanted to highlight it can happen. And if that happens, yeah, you'll be in trouble. But otherwise, yeah, TIE Fighter just barely surviving there. My Relic 8 TIE Pilot, yay. Anyway, same thing here. We're gonna try and land Fear here. We did crit, but Fear got resisted, which means punishing one will not skip a turn. And yeah, do I really need to comment the rest of this battle? I guess that's the main question. As you can see, punishing one totally wrecking your squad. I'm trying my best, see if I can finish off punishing one before they reinforce, then maybe we would still have a chance to turn things around. Got it in the red, but again, this is a 4-star punishing one, so 7-star is going to be more durable. Yeah, so definitely lots of RNG involved in this one. Well, when I say lots, I guess the main bit of RNG is whether your Imperial TIE Fighter in the opening sequence survives or not. That's why maybe if gear 12 Imperial TIE Fighter is fast enough to go first, because remember we get +10 speed for the scythe as well, then maybe that would be ideal because it's going to be squishier, or you know, probably most of you out there will have a Relic 5 TIE Fighter, not Relic 8, so maybe it will be a bit more consistent for you than it is for me. But at least, you know, I showed you different scenarios of RNG, how everything plays out. Hopefully that you can understand a little bit better how this counter works, and you know what to look out for when you are trying this out for yourself. Alright guys, so that's all for this video. Hopefully it was useful and helpful. Let me know in the comments below, as always, how this is working for you. But until then, have fun, enjoy life, and may the RNG be with you, my friends.